I know what you're thinking. That's not his normally shitty video setup. I'm sorry, I had to use these lights. So really quick, I'm looking for LEDs for the studio. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. Now, the first time I used an LED was this little block LED. I can't remember the name of them. This company sent them to me. They were so well made. They were a tiny little LED and they had a giant power supply outside of them, but they were kind of cool. And they hooked up, together, like you can control one and another wirelessly from one, not an app or anything, but just, between themselves. And the company sent to me and said, hey, could you do, some still photos? We just want to push these with stills along this video. And I'm like, okay, fine. I had a senior come in the studio that day and I asked her parents and her, do you mind doing this? The company may want to use it for advertising if it's okay. She said yes. I sent the photos. She was a full page ad in Hollywood magazine. I'll never forget that. She was excited. Anyway, that was my first time with LEDs. And now I've been through, I can't tell you how many different LED panels, cob lights. I've tried them all, stick lights. And the first one I ran into that I actually recommended on this channel, I think were the Westcott ice lights. I like those just, for a fun light, and for like quick, easy setups, food setups. I think they're great. The big one was the Stella Pro though, not the first iteration. I didn't recommend those, but the second iteration I highly recommended and still do. And I will use those every day. I actually just had to shoot a quick real estate thing for a rental. And I literally took one of those lights with me and just handheld it, and it worked out fantastic. Still highly recommend those. Studio wise though, tried everything. I have like one up on the ceiling here. It's a 200. I use it as just a ambient lighting for the studio because I don't like it for stills. It was a 200 watt second. I just didn't, or 200 watt unit. I keep saying watt seconds. That's strobe, but it's a 200 watt unit that, and it's nothing against the light. It's just, it didn't have the power that I wanted. And I always had to like tweak color with that. So long story short, my daughter has a new place in New York and she needed new lights. And I said, GVM has these new Pro line panels. I said, why don't you just give them a try? Because they were on sale. And she's really picky with lights. So this was like a shot in the dark, but I figured, it's a decent size for her because she had a small space in a new place. And she still has the big, massive professional lights at my place that she films with. But I figured I'd give these a try because they were a decent price and they look like a nice light. And on paper, they were good. She got them, sent me a video the next day and said, I love these lights. And I'm like, what? Never said that to me before in your life. And I'd given her all these LEDs from all the different companies. And she's just like, nope, that's horrible light. She's tough. So I figured, okay, well, she tried them. I'm going to try the Pro lights as well because they have the big Pro lights now. I figured I'll give it a shot. Now, the highest I've gone so far is 200 watts, which was the GVM. And I didn't like them. They're, ambient lighting now. So I figured I'm going to get the 650 big boy and the 300, for a hair light and rim light and so forth. And that's what this video is about today. We're going to give these a shot in the studio. Now, I already did the shoot. I did a little unboxing. Maybe I'll share a piece of that. That 650 is a heavy light. I thought like the pack would be the heavy part and the head would be light. It's the opposite. The pack is light as can be and the head is, it's heavy. Anyway, that doesn't matter. But how do they do? I mean, like straight off, I'm thinking, okay, I love the color of these. Now I did fine tuning on the color and I'll explain that. I'll walk you through everything, but the color, the quality is kind of there. And, I know it's relative, but for a 650 watt light, their pricing is pretty damn good. But again, I'm not recommending these yet because as soon as I was done with the shoot and I went through the photos, I was just like, okay, I got to reach out to GVM and say, give me I'm using aperture soft boxes on these because that's what I had. I didn't get these from GVM. If I did, the whole kit would be GVM everywhere. But I used whatever I had. and put them with this to see what they would be like and see how they would work. And I'm telling you, like, I'm kind of impressed with these lights so far. You know, I shot at ISO 200, 500th of a second at f2 to 2.8 and had no issues with it whatsoever. Now I want to shoot through an 8x8 panel, and I really want to put these things through their paces and to see how I can modify and control the light. So that's why I reached out to GVM saying, hey, listen, you know, send me some softbox of grid and a spot so I can really, you know, push these and try them. And you know, if I like them, I'm going to push them on my channel. If I don't, I won't. It's that simple. You know, because I've been looking for a long time for this kind of lighting. And the other thing was, I was worried that the second I turned these on, it would be blinding for the model, and it wasn't. And I'm using them now. I'm like, I'm squinting a little bit because I have eye issues, but I'm impressed. And it didn't bother her one bit, which I'm presuming it's because of that, you know, double diffusion on my unit. Anyway, rather than talking through this whole video, let me just get to the video and get to this whole thing, because I'm kind of impressed, and I do want to share. But again, I will recommend on our second shoot, which hopefully will be coming up within the next week, and I will give you my honest 100% opinion about these lights. Like right now off the surface, I'm liking the lights, but I'm not at that point where I can say 100% get these things. If I am, I will be glad to tell you. If I'm not, you won't see a second video. It's simple as that. Anyway, thanks for watching as always. Let's get to parts of this and then the shoot and see what we can do with these lights.
My thing today is to set this up for the first time and see how it does. I don't have my massive stand here, which is a problem, because from the feel of this, it's going to be pretty heavy, and I think it's going to be even heavy for just a standard C stand. But like I said, and I apologize for doing an unboxing here. I just had to see what this thing was like. And yeah, this has some weight to it. Holy crap. Like, how do you guys do this? You know, I know it's needed for video and stuff, but man, this shit is not light. That's got some weight to it. Wow.
Okay, so I'm not going to complain too much about the weight of that thing, but it is pretty heavy. But the C-stand did handle it without a problem. But I did pull out my wheeled stand after this because it's just easier to roll around. But the C-stand, even with the softbox on it, it's a pretty decent sized softbox. There was no issues with it. Now this is the 300 I'm setting up. That's a nice little unit. I would never just get the 300 after this shoot. I'm kind of liking the 650. I am doing white balance checks on the natural light, the ambient light coming in from the window, and then the lights themselves, because I really wanted to match that. I just wasn't sure how much of the window light would come into play with this shoot, so I wanted to make sure they matched. Now, when I took a photo without the lights on, it was pretty close to black, but not black. You know, you could still see outlines of the wall and the stands and so forth, but it was dark enough not to make a difference. But I still wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to come into play with this. Now, I'm using auto white balance to start with the camera because I just wanted to see how the camera was going to play off these lights and see if it gave me a decent white balance. And it's not bad. Like, these are at a camera. It's not bad at all. It's just not perfect. And I can go into Lightroom later and fix it, obviously, but I really want to get these out of camera, the look that I want and the color balance that I want. So I'm going to shoot a gray card next. And set my balance to a gray card right inside the camera, which always works out so much better.
Okay, so I'm shooting with the Voigtlander 50 Apo. My settings are ISO 200. I'm at f2.8 and 500th of a second. I'm kind of digging these lights a lot. Setting the white balance is huge. It is working out really, really well. Now, I kept the camera for the first outfit on automatic. Now I'm going to set the white balance in the camera to the gray card to see how close we can get. But I think this is going to work out pretty well. So GVM Pro lights, wow. So far, really impressed.
So for this outfit, I decided to throw the grid on the 650. Just that eats up so much light. And I shut off the backlight for a couple because I just wanted to see how this 650 along with the grid would do. Now, I did lose probably a half a stop to a stop of light, but it wasn't detrimental. I just went from 2.8 to 2, and I think I went down to 400ths of a second, but it was fine. I mean, there was definitely a loss of light, but I didn't like the back of her head on the left side, so I did have to throw the hair light back on to give that separation. And you'll see in the next photo after the hair light's on, it's like it just gives your photo more depth. And everybody loves a rim light and the hair light. It gives you that little sparkle to the color of the hair, and I like it just a lot better. So I was told, like, you can get away with one light, just move them closer to the wall, but two lights is optimal for this kind of shoot, and it worked out really well. I hate doing videos on a first use with an LED, but after I shot this, I was like, I really wanted to show this from my perspective and how I review these lights and look at them, like from the original pulling them out of the box, that original, holy shit, it's heavy. That was my first impression of this thing, to, actually shooting them. And I want to show you like what these things can do. Now, 500th of a second at f2.8 at ISO 200, to me is pretty damn impressive. I was never even close to this before with any of the lights I've tried. Not saying that, that's the end all to everything, but I saw so many videos of older videos with LEDs, they're shooting at ISO 1600 in the studio just so they can use LEDs, and that bothers me. I just don't like shooting at ISO 1600 in the studio. So for me, it was that search for the LED, the power, and the light consistency. You could see in these, the color balance is a lot better since I did the gray card. And they're solid images coming right out of camera. They look good. I enjoyed using the lights. You can see the fall off with this, obviously, because of the softbox. It seems like it just doesn't have the spread as much as a flash would. But I don't mind the fall off that much, and I'm a distance from the backdrop. This is my first initial shoot with them, my first impression, and I'm reaching out to GVM and saying, hey, send me what you have. I want to use an 8x8 scrim with the 650 and shooting through that so I get more coverage and I don't have that fall off in the backdrop. And that's why I'm not saying, okay, buy these, they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I can say right off the bat, I do like these lights, and I do like the power out of that 650. I don't think the 500 would have done it, the 400 would have done it. I think I need the 650 no matter what. Price-wise, it's not really that bad. I think these are like $9.99 or something like that, versus everybody else that in that wattage range is like $2,000. But the quality of this light for that price and this kind of wattage, it's impressive. And now the 300, like I said, that's a great light, but it would not cover me, for stills. For video, I'm sure it's fantastic. But anyway, so for the last shot here, I'm just going to pull her close to the backdrop and show you the one light setup. Because when you're close to the backdrop, you have the one light. The one light's going to cover everything for you. It's going to cover the backdrop. It's going to cover her, and the kickback off the backdrop will give it a little bit of separation for the hair light. And you don't need two lights. But the photo is really nice, even with one light. But let's reserve. I'll leave a link. So if you want to go take a look at them and see pricing and so forth, I'll leave a link in the description. But so far, so good with these lights.